Well, how often have you wanted to tell a service person or someone who's helped you, maybe didn't help you, exactly what you thought, but instead you just kind of bit your tongue and went about your day, but it still bothered you? Or you were kicking yourself because you wished you had told the person how great the service was. Well, there is an app that is helping people do that, and it's becoming more and more popular. It's called ResponseTek, and it's a Vancouver company. And joining me to talk a bit more about this is Chris Randall. He's the VP of Client Services at ResponseTek. Chris, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me on, Joel. Appreciate it.
No problem. What exactly does this do?
Well, ResponseTek is a software company. We are based in Vancouver here with offices globally. Our main focus is to change the way companies and their customers speak, and really try to put the power of the conversation in the hands of the consumer, whereby previously the customer kind of dictated when and where you could speak to them.
So this is something, so you may have an experience with a company, and then what, after that, do you get contacted by them, or you are able to contact them?
Yeah, it happens both ways. So in some cases, the companies where they traditionally would have tried to call you to try to get that conversation going, and typically they would have picked a time that was most likely to get you at home. And obviously once they got you on the line, because of the cost of that conversation, they really wanted to try to get as much out of you as possible, which left the customers relatively jaded with the companies and the type of communication that they were trying to facilitate. In this case, what technology has allowed is the ability for companies to reach out to customers in a more or less intrusive way, but also for customers to initiate. So in some cases, for example, if you purchased a cell phone through TELUS, the first text message you could get would be something asking you how that service went. So in that case, the organization is going to proactively try to reach out to you. What we're finding is that the conversations are much shorter. They're very topical, and they're on the device that you've, in that case, just recently purchased. What we tend to find is that customers are overwhelmingly willing to speak because it's fresh in my mind. It's just about what I did. I have a little bit more emotional attachment to it because it's so the timeliness of it is relatively quick. But also what we're allowing them to do is allow the customers to dictate whether or not they want to get their issue resolved. So they can actually trigger something within, in that example, TELUS, to route the information to a call queue and have someone actually call you back and deal with your issue. On the other side of that coin, we have the ability to allow customers to dictate when and where they want to speak. In some cases, whether that is texting in or using a mobile app to provide some of that feedback in, or in some cases, if there's a store, we've got some test cases out there right now where the near-field communications or some of these things where you can tap your phone on something in the store and it will trigger an ability for you to communicate with them at that time.
Do you find most customers, are they sharing information that's positive or negative?
You really get a lot more positive than you'd expect. Traditionally, when customers are reaching out to the organizations, it's always been through a website, and that's really the only avenue the organizations would have given you to proactively reach out to them. And when you do that, it really pulls in a very polarized audience because I have to be fairly emotional to leave the store, leave the call center, go online, find that feedback form, and go through the laborious process of providing that input. In this case, you do get a significantly larger amount of positive feedback, but you still uncover a fair bit of the issues that are coming in as well.
It seems odd, though. Why would people leave the store not satisfied when you have the person standing right in front of you and during the transaction? Isn't that the time when people would normally start saying something or say they're not pleased with what's happening?
Ideally, yes. Right. I mean, there's two sides to that. One, just human behavior doesn't facilitate that as easily as we'd all like. Some do it easier than others, and in some cases, the interaction's relatively quick. If I'm dealing with the call center, the last thing I want to do is wait longer to provide some feedback. And also, the other side of that is that feedback often ends there. The organization won't actually learn that you had a poor experience. Yes, the agent on the call center or the person in the store may have an understanding and can try to resolve that for you. But oftentimes, the customer's unwilling, the organization doesn't end up listening, and in some cases, I may not realize that I had a negative experience until a little later because maybe it was the bill that you didn't explain to me. So when I received my first bill from an organization, I realized I was a bit misled by the rate plan, for example, if we follow the TELUS example there.
And do you find companies are then quick to respond, say, if somebody texts or their feedback is, I'm never doing business with you again, then I would imagine there's an incentive to deal with that.
Yeah, a significant one. So, and organizations are responding, some obviously more than others. TELUS is a great example of an organization who's obviously trying to show they care. Given the typical way of communicating, it often feels very, standoffish a little bit because I'm reaching out to you at dinner and I'm doing it on a Sunday and whatever that might be. But in this case, there's a huge incentive and a huge willingness to actually participate in the dialogue. And customers are not only the negative dialogue, also the positive dialogue. When that positive feedback is provided about something that you've done, you get a lot of follow-up from the organizations with thanks and things like that.
I can see how it would be more attractive when you talk about the market research calls. I get furious when they call on my cell phone, and you're right, they call during dinner, they call during the day, during the middle of a day on a Wednesday, as though people don't work during business hours and expect that you can chat and talk about customer service, which I think is the last thing people are ready to do just on a whim.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think we're trying to, from our perspective, we're trying to make it real time. We're trying to put it more in the hands of the customer. Obviously, as technology evolves, it's allowing us to do that more and more. Whereby, obviously mobile, there's a lot more in stores and things like that we can leverage to try to allow the customer to initiate the dialogue. Because there's always going to be a hunger from the organization to understand not only how many sales they made, but how well did it go. And, technology just hasn't allowed that to be facilitated very easily in the past.
Your company is growing space-wise quite fast, which shows there must be a need for this.
Yeah, again, technology is kind of driving that a little bit in terms of our growth. We were founded in '99. We, again, Vancouver-based company, but offices now around the world in Toronto, London, Sydney, and what we're finding is the space is opening up quite quickly now. Our market research industry is shifting a little bit, and companies like ours are kind of starting to take over because it is a little more customer friendly. Organizations can still get more information, richer information in a less intrusive way, and also engage the customer in a proper dialogue because it happens in real time, as opposed to getting a report about what you thought a month later. We're giving it to you in 1 minute, and we're giving it to a person who can actually phone you back. The space is growing, the company's growing. We're actually one of the larger tech companies in Vancouver now, but unbeknownst to many. But it's really growing.
Sounds like it, and people getting their say and getting their feedback heard. Sounds great. Chris, thank you so much for joining us and chatting about it this morning.
Thanks, Jill. I appreciate you having us on.